Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, kindly subscribe so that you get updates when we post new content. Thank you. Today, I'll be speaking about 5 top questions you want to ask before applying for a PhD. I am Kenny Christopher. I have a PhD myself. I am currently a research fellow at a university here in South Africa. I have a lot of experience in academic mentorship and I'm passionate about helping people like me figure life out. So is getting a PhD something you want to do in 2023 or 2022 or sometime soon? Let's figure it out together. Statistics have shown that 40 to 50% of all PhDs do not graduate. The reason for this is really obvious. PhD is a back-breaking work. You don't want to go into it when you're not ready. And so before you apply for that PhD, you would want to ask this question of yourself. Number 1 question, why am I getting this PhD? It is important to ask yourself why, to know the goal you're trying to achieve. What is the motivation behind you wanting to get this PhD? What is the relevance of a PhD degree to you at this time? What is the relevance to your family at this time, to your country? What does it mean to you if you have a PhD now or in the near future? What would it mean to you? It is really important to ask or to answer this first question before you start the journey of the PhD, because the journey gets tough sometimes, really unbearably tough. And if you are not prepared, if what called you into getting a PhD is not something strong enough, it's not a conviction down in your heart, you might just fall along the way. Sometimes you might not be able to just pull through along the way. So why do you want to get a PhD? It can be truly frustrating if you go for a PhD for the wrong reasons. I'm going to tell you for free now. It can be very frustrating. For instance, you're going for a PhD because you want money. Then you go into business, not PhD. But if you go into it for the right reasons, it can be really fulfilling. I'll tell you that. It can be truly fulfilling if you have the right reasons spurring you into getting a PhD. Funny story, my reason for getting a PhD was, I wouldn't call it stupid, but then I wanted to become a very young professor. Don't ask me how that is going now, but that was my reason. And then I went on with it. I was very passionate about it. I kept on going and kept going. And I got my PhD pretty early and pretty young as well. Maybe that would be your reason or not. But make sure that you have something really strong and personal that is pushing you to get this PhD. The second question you would want to ask is, what do I want to study? This is a very important question to ask because it can determine the next few decades of your life. That is, if you're going to be relevant or not. Don't get me wrong, all bodies of knowledge and disciplines are very important, but you must be able to marry the reason why you're trying to get a PhD with the goals you want to achieve and with what you're going to study. Because at the end of the day, your reasons for wanting to get a PhD should determine what you're going to study during the PhD. For instance, if you must be relevant in this digital economy, then probably I will tell you not to get a PhD. But if you must get a PhD, you have to research it well to be sure that you're getting something that will keep you relevant in the digital economy. If you want to keep climbing the academic ladder, then by all means, please get a PhD because a PhD is what you need to get. And for those that are thinking, oh, what I studied before is not in line with what my goals are, guess what? It is super easy to change lines and academic disciplines these days. You can always just cross over, just do 1 or 2 courses just to make up for what you lack in the background, and voila, you're in the next place. So it's really easy now, but just make sure that you're taking an informed decision, you know what you're doing, and everything is in line with the aim and the goals you're trying to achieve. And a good place to start to know whether this is what I should study is to just check the website of the school to be sure if they have what it takes to take you through the program you want to go through, or you speak to a mentor who probably has more experience and information than you do, and the person can advise you better. Now, let me give you 1 or 2 tips for deciding on what to study. You might want to consider things like, am I going to go back to my old school or I'm going to a new school? Like, what do they have to offer based on my experience so far? Another thing to consider is what is currently in demand in terms of the economics of it. Is it going to be viable by the time I'm done? And questions like, will this be relevant in the next 5, 10, 20 years in terms of what I want to achieve? Or you can even ask yourself, how do I make my old discipline more relevant now? Should I combine some majors and combine some ideas together to know what I want to study so that I don't end up throwing away what I've done so far? I think these are things you might want to really ask yourself. Now, a final tip for those who are trying to make money out of PhD or trying to make money in life and they think PhD is the way to go, maybe on a lighter note now, maybe you might want to go to your university's car park and check out what the professors have packed in the car park and see if that looks like the money you want to make. So really, if you want to make money, PhD is not the way to go. You might want to just go and get maybe an MBA or go into business itself or go to a business school or just start business, start something. The time you're going to spend on your PhD research would be a very great time for you to spend on your business or for you to invest in your business, and you would be surprised what your business would have grown in 3, 4, 5 years, which you would have spent doing a PhD and then there is no money after. A third question you want to ask yourself is where am I getting this PhD? Now, this question is broken into two ways: the school and the country. Now, the school will obviously determine the country. But number one, you want to ask yourself, am I going back to my old school or am I going to the new school? Going back to your old school has its own pros and cons. For instance, going back to your old school would give you some sense of familiarity with the academics in the space. So it's not like you're breaking new grounds entirely. So you can just build on the relationships you had before, which is like a pro for me, if you ask me. But a con of it is that the familiarity does not really sometimes give you some sense of challenge in terms of what you breaking new ground or getting new experiences. So you might want to maybe think of a new school if you're looking for a new experience, a clean slate. But your old school will mean that yes, you're still going into the same school of thought, familiarity with the academics, and probably to be easier for you to get a supervisor. But then you can always still achieve that in a new school if you know how to go about your things. Another thing to consider is that does this school have the program I'm trying to achieve or I'm trying to study? If they do not have it, then you might want to think of another school that would help you. Sometimes the school would have it, but the facilities that they have, especially for those in engineering or sciences, the facilities do not really help you. So you would have to still go outside and all that. But you have to still consider all this vis-a-vis your finances. And for you to do all that, you might want to check the website of the schools or ask somebody that's been in the school or somebody that is more experienced. That is why it is very important to get a mentor if you're doing this. So don't just dabble into it anyhow. You need to get a mentor, someone to actually pull you through and someone to guide you through. Obviously, these questions are going to help you in making the choice for the country in which you're going to get your PhD. But you would want to now go on to check the immigration requirements for that country. Do you need any language proficiency tests? Would they allow your dependents or not if you're married? And several other considerations that you need to do. So if this video has been helpful so far, kindly hit the like button and subscribe so that you can get updates when we share content like this, and so we can figure things out together. Thank you so much. The number 4 question you may want to ask is, how do I fund my PhD? Am I going to self-sponsor myself? Will I get a job while doing the PhD? Will I get a scholarship? For self-sponsor, just know that you might have to quit your job during your PhD to get the greatest focus. If you're working already, perhaps that would be a way, but you don't have to. But if you really want to finish within the time frame and you don't want any distraction and you have another source of support, you might want to really quit your job and focus. For me, I had to quit my business. I had a thriving business, just a wonderful startup in architecture, but it was getting in the way of my research. So I had to make a choice. I chose my research and I had to stop the business, and it turned out good at the end of the day, but then my business suffered, and then I had to start doing some other things to make ends meet. And so I had to put some other skills to use while I'm still in the university. There will be a video later about how to maximize your finances as a PhD. I'm going to put the link down there. And while you're thinking of getting your PhD, Scholarship Cafe is a very good place to go if you're looking for how to get your PhD sponsored or funded. I'm going to put a link down to Scholarship Cafe's website where you can get a whole lot more information about scholarships that are available to you as you plan to go on your PhD journey. But I think in this sense, a very important question to ask yourself is the fact that is this going to be really worth it in the end? If you're going to go with student loans and all that, in the end, you're going to have tons and tons of student loans to pay back. So you might really want to consider it. If you're looking for money, if you want to make money through a PhD, you might really want to reconsider yourself. Money is not made through PhD. Money is spent. You spend a lot of money on your research, and you sometimes have to even abandon your sources of income so that you can focus on your research. So really, if you want to make money, PhD is not the way to go for you. But if you love research, if you want to make good contribution to an existing body of knowledge or to your field, then yes, PhD is a place to go. But if it is money that is pushing you, please, you might think of something else, and it is better you just don't get yourself frustrated or put yourself through all that, and at the end of the day, maybe you won't like what you did. And the last question you may want to ask yourself, which is the number 5 question, is who. Now, who is broken into two, so let me go for the first one. Who is your support system? You may be wondering why I'm asking, or why you think you need a support system through a PhD, but really you do need a support system through a PhD. It is a very lonely, hard journey. Your social life takes a very hard hit. Your personal life takes a very hard hit. Your mental health sometimes depletes because of the struggles of the PhD itself. Emotionally, you're battered, and you really need somebody in your corner to take you through this journey, to speak to you through this journey, to help you, to encourage you through this journey. This person may be your wife, maybe your spouse, maybe your husband, maybe someone within your family, maybe a mentor. Sometimes you go through a writer's block. You don't even understand what you're writing, what you're doing. Sometimes you question yourself. Sometimes you question your resolve. Why did I even come here? Why did I start this PhD? Especially when you have issues with your supervisor, you have issues with your institution, or you have issues with your finances, when you have to, you must have left your job, or you must have left something very lucrative to come here, or you made this decision leaving other very viable options or very juicy options. So sometimes you get yourself so worried, you question yourself, you think you're doing the wrong thing. You need somebody in your corner. 2 videos before this one was about the imposter syndrome, how I went through it. These things are real. Sometimes through your PhD journey, you feel like an imposter, like they'll soon find you out that you're not all that, and then you cannot really handle the things you're claiming to know how to handle. So all these things are things that are going to batter you through the PhD process, and you need somebody in your corner, somebody to hold your hand, somebody to encourage you through, and somebody to tell you it is okay to not be perfect. It's okay because it's just a phase. Remember, PhD is just a process. It is not the end game. You're going to get through it at some point. People have gone through it, people have gone through worse, and at the end of the day, it will be worth it. You don't forget you ever went through such difficulties at any point. Now, the second part of the who question is, who is your supervisor? Now, the supervisor is very important. It's quite key to your success or failure in your PhD. The relationship you build with him, is he approachable? Is he available? Is he experienced? Does he really care about what you're trying to achieve? Does he respect your goals? And does he see you as somebody that can achieve the goals you have set for yourself? You need to realize that you're tied to this person throughout your study. So the pace of your research and the success of your research is determined by this person. For me, I was very lucky. I'll keep saying this. I had one of the best supervisors in the world. It was just everything I wanted, or you would want in a supervisor. So you might not be as lucky as I am. And if you're not, there's a video, the link will be left in the description, where I shared 5 ways to deal with a difficult supervisor. I hope this video will help you. And for those that are yet to start, or that are still thinking of embarking on the PhD journey, it is important that you seek out the best supervisor based on information, credible information now from their colleagues, from their students, from the website of the school, before you embark on this PhD journey, because it might be a very, very, very tough journey for you if you get the wrong supervisor, and it can be a very wonderfully smooth journey, like a major stepping stone in your life if you got the right one. I probably wish I got all this kind of information before I applied to my PhD. I probably would have done some things very differently. I know I would have done some things differently. Now, obviously, these are not the only questions to ask. There are several other considerations to make. Please type it in the comment section what you think are other things that we should consider, or feel free to remove from this list. If you don't agree with anyone, just tell me, and perhaps we'll have a conversation about it. You can also write down strategies that worked for you during your PhD in the comments, so that we can all share this together. If you're thinking of braving it and going for a PhD, then you may want to check out my video where I shared 7 keys to survive your PhD journey, and I'm sure it's going to help you. In the video, I shared ideas on time management, financial management, mental health management, and relationship management. All this put together helped me to finish my PhD in less than the 3-year duration of the PhD. So if this seemed like what you would want, you might want to check out the video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.